All right. Welcome, everybody. This is Real Estate with Lou the Shoe here. I'm over here with Al from Amos House. Al, why don't you start by just telling me a little bit about yourself?
Right. First off, Lou, thanks for having us. We appreciate the opportunity to promote the program and put our brand out there. You can never advertise enough, so thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely.
A little bit about myself. I've been with the Amos House for a little over a year now. I'm the director of the Landlord Incentive Program, a program that's been in place for approximately 3 years. We've taken off over the last year and a half, a little bit right before I started. We're up to we've received about 310 units
Wow.
from various landlords throughout the state of Rhode Island, and we've filled 215 of them.
Wow.
So while we haven't even put a dent in the homelessness issue, and we haven't reached any of our goals, we have taken positive steps forward. And there are 215 more people that are in better housing than they were prior to the program. So it's a positive. I'm in real estate myself. I've multiple commercial buildings, a couple of multifamily units, condos. So real estate is a venture of mine. It's been good to me. I enjoy it from different avenues. Whether it's I don't sell. I'm not a selling agent, but buying, renting, it's something that I I find enjoyable. So this position, this role, in terms of trying to speak with landlords, I understand the language. I understand the risk that landlords are taking. I understand
Hmm.
what it means to have a bad tenant. I can literally, I've been there. I've done that. Eviction courts and handling difficult tenants or whatnot. So I think I have a way of kind of speaking the language and understanding, and I think it's helped create some positive relationships with different landlords.
Hmm.
And again, not you never know with tenants. Right? It's unpredictable. You don't know, but here we are, and we're looking to move forward and continue to help some of the homeless folks in Rhode Island.
Yep. So now, give us just like a brief background of the Amos House, who they are, and maybe like why it was created.
So it's a nonprofit organization, one of the initial nonprofit organizations in Rhode Island. The landlord program, residential housing is not really what the Amos House is known for. Amos House has many different outpatient houses located right around our main office here on
Hmm.
Pine Street in Providence. We have hundreds and hundreds of homeless folks that come here every day to our kitchen area. We provide food
Wow.
for, and then housing in the surrounding streets. But residential housing is something. It's a new venture to us. This government funded program, so this isn't really what we're known for, as much as it's an attempted expansion. Within the organization, and it has been successful because we've been refunded twice. We're going on year three, so it started off as a year, and we're going on year three. So it's the Amos House has its reputation, like I said, with outpatient and assisting homelessness, find housing, and resolve alcohol issues, personal issues, challenges that have kind of derailed folks. But this is a new door we're opening, and we're trying to slam it down.
So now, what type of help is needed, like with Amos House? Because it sounds like you guys need quite a bit of help with, other people and volunteers.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a village, obviously, so they say the village to raise a child, and it takes a village to solve, rampant issues such as the homelessness issue in Rhode Island. I mean, you could drive down the street here at any time part of the day, and you see teens and hundreds of homeless people at different times.
Hmm.
So it's much bigger than us. What we are trying to do, focusing on this program, is it's really simple. We need landlords. We
Yeah.
need units. We need landlords who have units, who would consider opening their door, who find it in their heart to want to help and take a risk. In some ways, also receive some pretty solid incentives. Also, we try to make it financially worth your risk, and help bring these people from the streets into their units. And we work hard to try to create suitable, positive relationships. And like I said, we've been successful, but we're not close to where we want to be.
So what's the let's start with the process. What is related to the process of putting the tenant inside the unit? And is there like an inspector that comes out? Stuff like that.
So the first step is obviously myself, and we just added a new member to the team, an associate of mine, Manny, young guy, motivated guy who's doing a fantastic job. He or I would reach out to landlords. It's like recruiting. It's glorified recruiting. We try to use different outlets. Truly a hotpad, Zillow, and we try to contact with landlords who have available units that are looking for tenancy, and we speak with them. We lay out some of the incentives. We lay out the perks of the program. We ask them to pledge a unit. The unit's a pledge at no risk. If I were to discuss with you and negotiate with you, Lou, and you listed a unit with us, at no point in time are you financially or legally committed to the program. You can put the unit in the program and take it on anytime you want.
Right.
In terms of ownership, you have the ability to rent on your own or remain with the program. So you would pledge the unit, then we come and we do a habitable inspection. We're not looking for $2,000 backsplashes and $20,000 chandeliers. We're looking for safe, habitable places with, multiple exits, smoke detectors, screens on windows, just a safe housing arrangement. And then after we did a housing inspection, a habitable inspection, we will require a lead inspection, a lead certification for all people that don't live in the units. And then we're ready to rock and roll. It's that simple. This process can get done in 1 week. You can list the unit, we can inspect the unit, you can get a lead cert within 1 week, and then we can put the unit out to our providers that week, that next following week. And if things align, you could have a tenant within 2 weeks. Doesn't always happen that way, but it could.
It could, right. Which is really nice because that's definitely one of the issues is, am I going to be getting paid during that process or whatever? And we're gonna get into compensation related questions next. But how long? Obviously, there's those vouchers that these people are getting and receiving from the state. How long are those vouchers good for, and what happens when the vouchers run out?
Well, we'll start from the back. When the vouchers run out, the individuals have to renew them. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they term every year. There are multiple forms of housing, multiple forms of funding, so to speak, for housing. Most consistent is that these folks have vouchers. There are multiple vouchers: rapid rehousing vouchers, Section 8 vouchers,
right?
Different Crossroads vouchers, Thrive vouchers. There are a million different vouchers. The vouchers are what pays the landlords. Okay, the vouchers are funded through the state, not through the organizations, and they pay the landlords the rent. The rent is paid directly to the landlord on the first or second of every month. There's no communication in terms of receiving rent between the tenant and the landlord. Mm-hmm. If the individuals don't work, if they're unemployed, the vouchers generally pay 100% of the rent. If they do work, it's 30% of their income. 70% is paid. 30% is paid via the folks. And those vouchers are for life. Those vouchers, they don't, once they acquire a voucher, the vouchers are for life. But again, they need to be renewed. They need to be renewed every year.
So as long as they renew the vouchers, then they're good for life. So that's really good to know.
Yeah.
So that way, because that was one of the concerns that a lot of landlords had was, what happens when the voucher runs out, and these people are kind of whatever. So that's definitely good to know. Now, does location matter? Like, is there certain areas of Rhode Island or whatever, or is it offered just about anywhere in Rhode Island?
Anywhere in Rhode Island. We are most popular. This probably shouldn't be a surprise to anyone who's, in real estate or has any idea what's going on with the homeless, is that North County, right? Pawtucket, Providence, Central Falls, Woonsocket, Johnston, North Providence, a little bit, but we don't really have families that are looking to move to southern Rhode Island. I mean, anything south of Warwick, doesn't, whether it's the pricing, a lot of the families, we try to put the families in situations where they would like to be, to try to, promote obviously some positivity, some comfortability, where they're more likely to be successful. And a lot of these families, for a variety of different reasons, that's a different conversation, but they tend to reside in, northern part of Rhode Island. So Providence, Pawtucket, Central Falls, Woonsocket are our most sought after areas. And when we look to recruit and reach out to landlords, those are the areas we're focusing on.
Okay. All right. Because it sounds like there's probably higher demand over there as well, just because there's a higher population. There's a higher percentage of homelessness in those areas as well. So
Yeah.
that definitely makes sense.
And as crazy as the rental market is,
Yeah.
we all know how hot the market is. The rents tend to be a little more affordable in these areas. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
a 2-bed in Providence is not the same as a 2-bed in North Kingstown.
Mm,
It's just those are just the facts.
okay. Now let's get into the compensation related questions. So, what do the landlords receive for compensation for housing these individuals? If you could break it down,
Yep.
in addition to the rent. So, like just the standard rent that they agree on with Amos House and everything. Um, what are the additional compensations that these people can potentially get?
Right. So obviously, you receive the rent agreed upon number between the landlord and the tenant.
Hmm.
You receive first in security from us, well, from Crossroads. But the landlord receives first month in
Yep.
security deposit, in addition to the rent. In addition to the rent and the security deposit, the incentives of the program, the perks of the program, the landlord would receive $3,000, a $3,000 personal check
Okay.
for the first unit that they pledge in the program. Once the lease is agreed to, you and I agree on a lease, you receive $3,000, and you'll receive that later that week. If
Three
you do it on a Thursday or Friday, you'll receive it the next week.
three thousand
Okay, it's
dollars
paid
just for opening it up.
$3,000 when there is a lease agreed, when there's a lease agreement, yes,
Wow.
between you and the landlord. In addition to that incentive for the first unit, you receive $3,000 up to $3,000 in unit repairs.
Wow.
In unit repairs, it's very liberal, so to speak, in terms of what's allowed. I've seen water tanks, I've seen stoves, appliances, I've seen paint jobs, I've seen replacements of doors, countertops, anything in the unit, okay,
Mhm.
that is necessarily enhancing the quality of the unit, the safety of the unit, the cleanliness of the unit. $3,000 you're eligible for in terms of repairs. You need to provide us with invoices and receipts
Mhm.
for the purchases, and we need to see proof of purchase. We need to see that the amount of money that you're alleging was spent.
Right.
So that's your first unit. $3,000 incentive, $3,000 check, $3,000 repair incentive. So essentially, it's $6,000 for every subsequent unit. Second, third, fourth, fifth. You could list 200 units, and I mean that literally speaking.
Mhm.
You receive a $1,000 incentive check,
Wow.
and you're still eligible for the $3,000 in repairs.
Wow.
So in simple numbers, $6,000 for the first unit combined, $4,000 for every subsequent unit, second, third, fourth, fifth, and we've had landlords who have made. I mean, we get some whales, 30, 40 units, not many, but a few, and they just line up their repairs. You know what I mean? It's 3,000, 3,000. If you've got 5, 6, 7 units, generally speaking, when tenants move out, there's work that needs to be done, whether it's paint, whether it's anything,
Yeah, that's
cosmetic stuff. You can line up that $3,000, and it's pretty it can be worth your while. I mean,
mhm.
what's the best way to get to people, to reach people, right? It's money. That's
Yeah.
the best. Like that's the best way to, we could say a bunch of different things and nice conversations and love letters and whatnot. But at the end of the day, landlords, this is a business. It's a financial risk, and
Right.
people want to be compensated financially. So we feel that's the best way to reach out to people and to kind of engage people and to consider taking the risk of renting to a population which is at a higher risk, right?
Yeah.
And there's a stigma, which is somewhat justified. So, these incentives try to help offset that a little bit.
Well, that's one thing. That's one reason why I wanted to talk with you to see if it is just a stigma or if it's an actual issue that these landlords are going to have. And just like anything else, like there's educated risk that you have, and there's potential risk. There's calculated risk. So for certain people or for some people, the risk might be worth it. But that's definitely something that we're gonna have to kind of talk about at towards the end.
Yeah,
But thank you for that. So in other words, for your first unit, you can get up to $6,000 in addition to the first month and the security.
correct.
Correct. Okay. Yeah,
That's
that's. I
correct.
mean, that's quite a lot of money for
And the rent is the least of your worries too.
yeah.
I mean, the rent. People ask. Some people have asked me verbatim on the phone. Al, what's the catch? It sounds too good to be true. Well, the catch is if you get a bad tenant. That's the catch. That's
Yeah.
I mean, if you get there's you can't put a price on a good or bad tenant. You don't have to worry about the rent. You get the incentives. You get the perks. Okay, so what's the catch? It sounds too good. Well, I mean, if we have to try to get you a good tenant, you know what I
Right.
mean? Someone who doesn't vandalize the unit, adheres to the lease and things like that.
Right.
But I mean, again, I have units in Lincoln, in Smithfield, and I've done evictions. So there's an inherent risk in at any point in time when you
Yes.
open up your doors to anyone.
Yes.
Um, and again, are you at a greater risk in the program? Is there probably some of these individuals have had challenges and whatnot, and there is, your folks are definitely at a greater risk.
Yeah.
But we haven't done an eviction in 8 months, also. So leading to your question about the stigma, that's a fact that can't be refuted. It's been 8 months since we've done a full on eviction, so things are going okay.
And just for reference, a lot of the people are going to say, "Oh, well, you haven't done an eviction in 8 months. Well, how many units are occupied? But how roughly how many units do you think that you have right now?"
Well, we occupied I think we're at 214 or 215 units that we've occupied
Wow.
throughout the life of the program. I'm not saying that right now there were 215 occupied. You have to figure at least half of those are still occupied because we've been doing a lot of our work in the last year and a half.
Okay.
And we have a renewal rate of like 64% with landlords because the program is for a year. And
Wow.
then the landlord has the right to either renew or actually begin their own lease with the tenant. After a year, you're on your own. The
Yeah.
tenants either move out or you begin a lease with them. And we're at about 64% rate of
Wow.
returning landlords returning and starting their own leases with folks. So you're better than 50%, in terms of a lease renewal.
Right.
So I mean, even at that number, that's not to say that and even a higher percentage of the relationships were positive. That's just the rate of landlords that wish to continue on and start their own lease with the
Now,
folks. So
now that's amazing because those people that are in the units, not so much the people that are leaving, but the people that are actually in the units, those are people that I'm sure are very, very, like happy, and they're very thankful that they came through the Amos House program in order to, help find housing. So
yeah,
that's incredible. And that's something that, you definitely want to work towards. And obviously there's going to be people that have some regret, or they're going to want to, raise the rents and get a little bit additional more, and they're going to try to, penny pinch the following year. I'm sure you're going to kind of run into that. Obviously, no matter what, you're going to run into maybe people that don't necessarily want to do it. But having zero evictions out of it, it sounds like you have over 100 units. So having zero evictions in the previous 8 months is incredible. And believe it or not, that actually beats the national average. That national average, out of all units being occupied in the country, it's roughly right around 3%
really.
evictions. Yeah, so you guys are, very well below that, that's absolutely incredible. So, and going down, when we talk about that stigma, um, being able to look the tenant in the eye, being able to, say, okay, yes or no, to be able to qualify the tenant as your own, like as an actual landlord, versus just putting your trust in this program. Um, I mean, that's incredible. So people out there that have multiple properties, that have multiple units, you might very well want to look into this program if you're thinking of, trying to help, because the stigma, it might just be that. It might just be a false stigma. And just like anything else, everybody's got to do their own research. You have to make sure that your tenants are definitely qualified. You don't want to cheat yourself out of having a really qualified tenant versus having a poor tenant.
Yeah.
But I think that's definitely what helps with the retention rate, is being that these landlords actively picked the tenants. It's not just, here you go, here's the tenant from Amos House. It's okay. Let me look at this tenant, see if they're qualified. If they're qualified, great. I'm going to use them. If not, then so be it. So
I,
having, sorry, go on.
no, I'm sorry. Continue.
So having that option to pick, I mean, that's amazing right there. Just you can sign up for the program and
Yep.
not necessarily use the program if you don't want. You can use it or you don't use it. It's
You're always in control as a landlord.
yeah.
And I think, Lou, one thing I wanted to add quickly as you were
Mhm.
relaying that information, you put me privy to something.
Yep.
I think what separates this program from your general Section 8 program,
Hmm.
and this is really, really important, and it's helped landlords kind of, the light goes off when they say it to them in conversations.
Hmm.
You have the final say over what tenant goes in your unit. We send you the applications.
Yep.
You want folks with a clean BCI? Okay, we can send you folks with a clean BCI. We we recommend landlords to do their own BCI check because we can't provide any more information, the HIPAA violations and whatnot.
Right.
But we send you the applications. You then meet the folks as if you would any other showing. I mean, any showing you have, if you're promoting I mean, I've done 250 showings in my life. Anytime you're marketing a unit, comes down to the individual coming to see the unit and meeting them and speaking with them and trying to get a feel for them. That's the breakdown.
Right.
That's what you do here. That's what happens. They come with the case manager. You meet them. You get a feel for them. You ask whatever questions you want, and then it's on you. You do
Yeah.
your homework. You do your due diligence, and you pick from a pool of individuals. And I mean, again, so at that point, it becomes as normal as as any listing or showing would be. So at the end of the day, again, it's just a lot about control. It's ownership. It's yours. We're providing you with the folks, but you have the final. You're controlling who goes in your unit. You know what I mean? We didn't just roll the dice and say, "Well, Eric wants to go to Pawtucket," so no. What do you think about this tenant? What do you think about? How'd you feel about meeting him? And where did you? And some people are, it's not for me, and then others move forward and it works out. So I give a lot of credit to the tenants for shaping up and doing what they need to do. And I think that our process is that of one that we're truly trying to create a positive relationship. It's not just luck of the draw.
Right.
We're trying to pair a landlord with a tenant in a location that we don't know, we think will work.
Hmm.
And statistically speaking, it has worked.
So
And the numbers show that.
so now one of the things that was asked by a landlord that kind of stuck out to me too, and you could probably shed some light on it. This might not be the way that it works, but one of the questions was, do do we have to accept the tenant, or do we accept the tenant first and then we can do the repairs and get reimbursed for it, or do we have to do the repairs and then we tell Amos House, okay, we want a tenant, and then we can accept the tenant. And the reason why is because landlords are trying to figure out, like, can we get reimbursed? Can we make sure that we're going to get reimbursed for the repairs first before allowing the tenant to move in?
Yeah, all the repairs need to be done. It's a good question. All the repairs need to be completed before the tenant moves in. Everything needs to be done before the tenant moves in.
Okay.
And the funds are not distributed in any capacity, whether it's an incentive reimbursement, whether it's repair reimbursement. No money is transferred until a lease is signed.
Until the lease is signed.
Once a lease is signed, a 1-year lease, no negotiation. Can't do month to month. You can't do 8 months. You can't do 10 months. I only say that because I've done the lobbying back and forth. It is a 1-year lease. And once the lease is signed, that's when money starts to transfer hands. Until
Right.
that, nothing happens.
So in other words, landlords can't just be like, you know what, I've got to renovate this unit anyways. Let's renovate it, and then go ahead and sign the lease or whatever, or sign the lease to make sure. So that's good to know. That they can't they
Yeah,
can't
repairs. Everything needs to be done before you move in.
yeah, they can't double dip. So that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So now, okay. So you answered that. You answered the about the BCI checks and everything. How do they screen the tenants prior to letting them into the program? Oh yeah. So it sounds like obviously these are people that seriously need help, seriously need housing. Um, they might not have the best credit. They might not have whatever, but they can go to you and they can say, "Hey Al, I want somebody with at least this credit score that passes the BCI check and everything." Is that correct?
It is. It is. Just a word to the public. I don't recommend checking credit scores.
Mhm.
I mean, I just again, you got to always consider the source, right? If these folks had good credit scores, they probably wouldn't be homeless. So I don't, I mean, the BCI makes total sense.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of landlords have said to me that, well, a credit score is a reflection and how people live. And you know what? I agree. I mean, I would never have a low credit. I wouldn't allow myself to have a low credit score. I get it. But again, you got to be realistic with what you're doing. You have to consider the pool of individuals and where you are.
Right.
You're talking to people. You're considering people that are homeless.
Right.
If you were homeless, again, if you weren't homeless, I think your credit would be a lot better than it would. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's,
Yeah.
if homeless folks, I don't think you should be expecting a 700 credit score.
Yeah.
So I think it can only deter folks. But again, it's available. It's something that can be done.
Mm-hmm.
But most people focus on the BCI record. They want to know felonies, misdemeanors, crimes. And I agree 100%. It's something I know we don't begrudge anybody for doing that, but the credit score is, a little, again, you got to consider the source.
I gotcha. And that's up to the landlord too, if they can, obviously do their own background check.
Totally is. Yep. Totally is. You do your own background, do your credit score. It's all to the, again, we try to have the landlords, we try to provide as much control as we can. We do. We try to give you as many opportunities to meet the folks and make an informed decision. There's no games. There's no curveballs. We're not trying to sneak anybody in the back. It's not that type of operation. And I think that's why it's been successful too. I mean, it has to have something to do with it. Even if we got lucky a few times,
Right.
the process has to have something to do with the success.
Right. Exactly. Now, when it comes to rent in like particular areas, is it just, okay, for a 1 bed, 1 bath, this is what you guys are paying for the vouchers, or is it just kind of, it depends on the particular area, average average rent based in that area?
Yeah, good question. And obviously it's something that's a lot of landlords, it's at the top of the agenda. So landlords have the right to list a price. Again, your unit, you could ask whatever you want. We then do what we call a rent reasonable check.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have a software. It's black and white. It is not subjective. There's a computer software we use, affordable housing. It's a rent reasonable check, and it is based on the comps, in the surrounding areas. If you're listed a 2 bed and 1 socket with 1 bathroom, 1,050 square feet, house is 25 years old, we take the median averages of 3 surrounding, and we can expand the search. We can expand it to 20, 30. We try to get you as much as we can, but it's the average rent per unit based on your criteria. So it's Providence is not Pawtucket, is not Cranston, it's all different. Woonsocket seems to come in the lowest quite consistently. They tend to bring in the lowest amount of rent, for landlords. But I tell you the one thing, the rent reasonables, they're high. I mean, I've seen studios for 1,500.
Wow.
It has, the rental market is hard. The rent reasonable software and the rent reasonable process is definitely modernized, and it's, you're not getting 1,200 for a 2 bedroom anymore. Like those days are over.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
You would think that, some would think that, well, it's affordable housing, vouchers. No, the rent reasonable, again, it's according to the comps in the area.
Right.
So it's very realistic. Obviously, some landlords priced themselves out. I had a guy last week who asked me for $2,300 for a 2 bedroom in Providence. Obviously, it's like, good luck.
Yeah.
Like, you might be able to get it on the market, probably not. But this program is not, their vouchers are not going to satisfy that type of rent. So it would only be setting you up for failure.
Right.
Because they're not going to satisfy you. It's not going to work. So again, we also try to focus on realistic prices also, where we think our clients will be able to afford. The vouchers will compensate the rent. Because if not, it's going to end up in eviction court. And then that'll break our streak.
So in other words, if I have say it's a 1 bed that, maybe wasn't updated, or a 2 bed that maybe it wasn't updated, I don't know, or it is, whatever, and I wasn't expecting to get that like market rent, I could then theoretically use the program, renovate the property, collect up to $3,000 for renovations, in addition to the $3,000, whatever. And in addition to that, now I'm able to get market rent through the program. So um, in your example, it was $1,500 in some areas for a studio, which if you weren't going to be getting that originally anyways, so you just collected $6,000 through the program. Now you're getting even more because you're getting a per month basis increase in your rent, which you didn't have previously anyway. Say it was $1,200 a month. Well, now you're getting an additional $300 a month, including that. That's incredible. That is
Yeah,
absolutely amazing.
and it's funny too because it's something. Sometimes I would think that a lot of landlords would understand this, but when I market it like this, again, the kind of a light goes off. You could tell, like, wow, I didn't look at it like that. No matter how you look, I mean, if you're asking for 1,800, right, and the most we can get you is 1,650. You want 1,800? No, I'm sorry, Lou. The most we can get you is 1,650. If you factor in the incentives, which I guarantee there are no ifs, ands, or buts about it, unless you don't give us the paperwork. If you give
Yeah.
us the paperwork, you're getting $6,000 for the first unit.
Hmm.
No matter how you sprinkle it, and no matter how numbers are numbers, you are bringing in $12,000. I'm sorry, $12,000. You are bringing in $6,000 over a 12-month time span. That's 500 a month additional income that unit is bringing you.
Right.
Simple numbers. So if you want 18 and you're getting 16 from us, you're essentially getting 2,100
Yeah.
because that 500 a month. I mean, no matter how you break it down, that's how it averages out to $500 a month for the year lease for
Right.
the term of the agreement. So you're actually getting more than you would on the market.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Now, is this money guaranteed? Is there any
guaranteed.
guarantee?
As long as you provide us invoices and receipts for the repairs,
Yep.
it's guaranteed.
Now,
Guaranteed.
what about the rent though? Is it like the rent is 100%? Is it
The
guaranteed?
rent, if the folks are not employed,
Right.
the vouchers pay 100% of the rent. If they are employed and they have income, personal income, the voucher pays 70%.
Okay.
The folks pay 30.
Okay. Awesome. Um, now, okay. So this is one thing that I was asking about. So for other real estate agents, like I'm a licensed real estate professional myself. There's other property managers that are out there too. If people say bring you a landlord that is interested in learning more about the program, that kind of wants to give back and learn more about the program, see what type of incentives are out there, and talk to you directly. Is there any sort of compensation for that for agents?
So for one bedroom units only to this point, it could change.
Yep.
We are providing to any real estate agent or property management company that provides us with a landlord who pledges a one bedroom unit, you receive a referral fee, which
Hmm.
is generally a month's compensation of rent. So
Awesome.
that's the incentive. That's the incentive for landlords, property management companies. And okay, so Lou, say you bring me a client who pledges 8 or 9, 10 units. None of them are one bedroom units. If you're providing us a serious amount of units, I can get you an incentive also. It's one of those things where it's negotiated. It's kind of on a case by case scenario type of thing.
Yeah.
It's not ingrained like a one bedroom unit, 1 month referral fee. But
Okay.
if you're helping us, we will provide an incentive. If you're bringing us quite a few units, we'll provide you an incentive and we will compensate you, and show our appreciation by trying to put some money in your pocket.
Awesome. So with that being said, if anybody reaches out to Al, make sure you tell him Lou the Shoe sent you, and that way I can get paid for it. Thank you. No, I'm just kidding.
So it makes
Um,
the world go round.
yeah. But in all seriousness, yes, like agents, this is just one way to kind of put a little bit of something back in your piggy bank. So if you're an agent or some sort of professional property manager, whatever it may be, make sure you reach out to Al and make sure that you just educate yourself on the matter too. So that way you can know the benefits of it and know the program a little bit more. And then that way, when you speak to somebody about it and say, "Hey, listen, you should reach out to Al," that way you can kind of get that referral fee for it too. So that's really
It's
good.
there. It's available. Take advantage of it. It's there. It's for the taking.
Exactly. All right, so let's get into evictions, everybody's favorite evictions. So we talked a little bit about it. We talked about the 3% national average. You guys are way below it, like we talked about. You haven't done one eviction within the last 8 months, which is incredible. Now, that being said, will Amos House pay for any losses due to evictions, whether it be damage to the unit, attorney fees, anything like that?
We currently also our sister program, Crossroads, Rhode Island, who I'm sure you guys have heard about.
Mm-hmm.
They will pay the compensation for the eviction.
For the
They
eviction.
compensate for the eviction itself, generally between like 600 and $650.
Yep.
In terms of replacing anything in the unit, damages, no, we do not do that. That incentive is paid at the beginning. It's kind of, those incentives are given ahead of time.
So in other words, I got the security deposit up front. I had gotten the $3,000, up to $3,000 for repairs in general. You're kind of saying, okay, listen, here was the $3,000 that you got for the repairs, and here was your security deposit. If the damage is more than the security deposit, that's your money as well. But anything in addition to that, that's the landlord's risk that they take, with going through the evictions. And which is actually, it's cool to kind of understand that, because not only are you guys lower than the national average when it comes to evictions, but also a lot of the time, you're not going to be really seeing that much in general if you were to do a regular eviction on a normal tenant. So that's really good to know.
And the good thing here, I mean, again, at some point there will be an eviction. I hope it's not for a long time, but it's just, statistically speaking, it's the, nature runs its course.
Yep.
The vouchers, which are paying the rents for the vouchers don't kick out because an eviction is going on. So you're getting paid during the eviction.
Wow.
I've done 3 evictions myself. I could tell you from experience, if you can find a tenant that pays you rent when you're evicting them, you
Good luck.
have a godsend. It doesn't happen that way. So,
Wow.
I've lost 2 and 3 months of rent during an eviction. So
Wow.
another incentive, you know what I mean? You're compensated fully until that individual or family leaves.
So say it takes 6 months to evict these people out. These landlords are getting paid throughout the entire process of evicting these people.
Yeah, if it takes 6 months, then that's some serious stuff would have had to happen.
Well, yeah.
That's a long. We don't know the court system is slow, but yeah, hopefully it doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
But yes, you're paid. You're paid. It is a 1-year lease, and whatever the funding is, that's all cited at the beginning of the lease and application, housing information, whatever that information is, whatever those numbers call for, that are agreed to,
Mm-hmm.
and made aware of, both sides are made aware of at the beginning of the lease. That's how it goes. That's how it's paid for the 12 months.
So now, say the lease is coming to an end. Say we're at the last month or whatever. I have to evict the tenant because of some issue with anything going on. Obviously, if they end up staying, they don't move out or whatever, and I have to evict them even after the lease is up. That is still, from my understanding, is that still something that we're going to be compensated for too?
Yes, yeah. The voucher still remains alive.
Okay, all right. As long as the tenant's in there, then the voucher remains alive.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, say I don't know if you would answer this already, but say the tenant moves out on the 15th versus the 1st. Am I being compensated for that full month, even though they were out on the 15th? Or is that something
No, it's prorated per day.
prorated per day?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Good. That's good to know. Thank you. All right. So that, I think, does everything as far as the questions that I have goes. Is there anything in additional that you would want to add to that we didn't cover yet?
No, other than the fact, like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to put the brand out there. Please feel free to promote and to advertise.
Mm-hmm.
Also, feel free to reach out to me directly at any time. anyone. Lou has my information, but my number is 401-644-2124. It's my cell. We are directly accessible. We're available. We pick up the phone during work hours, after work hours, and we're looking to try to affect as many lives as we can while we have the funding and while the program is present. So
Mm-hmm.
you know what the facts are, you know what the incentives are, and we're open for any one-on-ones and discussions, and it could clarify anything that needs to be. Please don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome, and I'll make sure that I put your information down at the bottom too,
Great.
in the description. So everybody that is listening to this, Al's information is going to be below, as well as the link to Amos House. I want to make sure that everybody has that link so you can share it with everybody. You can go in and do your own due diligence and stuff, and you can ask questions directly to Al. So thank you for that. All right, so I guess with all due, I think that's it. That closes everything. Now, when it comes to one of the questions that we had, is it a stigma, or is this thing kind of the real deal? Are people just thinking, you know what, it's a homeless person in my house, I'm going to have to evict them? So that was one of the first questions that we asked ourselves at the beginning. I think we answered that with all the incentives that we have, with the raw data that comes from the Amos House, comes from Al, and comes from the national average. And I will put a link down there below so that way people can see the national average. And that was taken from evictionlab.org in 2022, saying that it was about 3%. So anybody that wants to look up that themselves, they definitely can. And I don't think anybody's going to argue with that either. So I think it's more of a stigma than anything, saying that it is just it is just homelessness. You don't want to deal with these people. You don't want to deal with these tenants. They're giving out great incentives, and you have the option to use this or not. It's not like you sign up for it and you have to use it. You can vet these tenants out completely as you like, and then you can say, all right, I still want to use these people or not.
Correct.
It's not 100% you have to use them. So I think there is a huge stigma. I think at least as a landlord, I think you'd be missing out on a huge opportunity if you didn't at least just educate yourself on the matter. Reach out to Al, ask him how he's doing, go get coffee with him or something, and just sit down with him and see how he's going. But
We'd love to.
thank you very much, Al. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Amos House. And with that being said, that concludes our session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lou. Keep in touch. We'll talk soon. Thanks for having us.